A retired federal judge has issued a warning in a new op-ed that he wrote for CNN.com. The judge is Judge J Michael Lutte. And Judge Lutte warns us that what we saw with Donald Trump and the attempted coup regarding the 2020 election and all of their attempts to overturn it, as well as the nonstop string of lies since then, Lutte explains that was just a dry run. I mean, that's literally what he said. The last presidential election was a dry run for the next. And he says their actual objective is to execute successfully in 2024 the very same plan they failed in executing in 2020 and to overturn the 2024 election if Trump or his anointed successor loses again in the next quadrennial contest. He's not wrong. I mean, this is something I have said before as well. Plenty of other folks have said this. But, coming from a former federal judge, I think it carries a little bit more weight than when I say it or when anybody else says it, because these are people, of course, who are trained to recognize what this kind of behavior is, what it does, and what it leads to. And that's why this warning is so dire. But think about it for a second, folks. What we saw and what we're still learning, I mean, literally just this past week, all of the revelations that have come out, all of the text messages, all of the new characters that were involved in this, those are the people that Donald Trump is going to put in charge next time he runs for president. And that is why he is hyping up his pro-Trump MAGA people in this year's midterm races, because he wants to make sure that he has enough of his loyalists to displace the anti-Trump people, so that if it came down to it and they were the ones having to, certify the Electoral College results, he would have enough people to possibly actually overturn it. All of the plans start to come together when you start to look at it that way, folks. This isn't just about Trump wanting to punish people like Liz Cheney. It's because he needs to get Cheney out so he can replace it with somebody that will do whatever he wants them to do in case he loses again in 2024. Or if Ron DeSantis loses in 2024, or Greg Abbott, or Ted Cruz, or whoever it's going to be. That's the plan. That's why people like Steve Bannon have been pushing his audience, go and run for these election boards. Go and run for Secretary of State. And that, of course, is why Trump has been so invested in these Secretary of State races that we have going on. But he's pushing these people because he knows where he went wrong last time. He saw the weaknesses in his plan, basically, that he didn't have enough people all over the country to make this happen. So he's trying to right those wrongs right now. 2020 was, in fact, a dry run. And they're getting ready for the real thing in 2024. That's why you have more Q people running for office. That's why you have more election deniers running for office. That's why they continue to push the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen, that now 67% of Republicans believe. Once you get them to believe it, it's easier to steal it the next time around. All of the things that are happening are part of a larger puzzle that Donald Trump is in the process of putting together now. And when we get warnings like this from retired judges, these are warnings that we need to take very seriously, because Trump is already working on stealing the 2024 election. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel. We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.